certain things take the place of
Yes.
the Almighty, that's when you're gonna have to.
So we had to put that little disclaimer out there.
That's
because
right.
We're not attacking you sports fans.
Correct. Don't look at it that way.
Done in love like
Hey guys, we're Kristen and Jarrell Abraham.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Today we want to talk about sports as idols.
Yes.
So I think you're really gonna go into it.
Yeah.
Just a few points. We're not against sports.
We're not.
Right? Okay.
We're pretty athletic ourselves. We definitely both have athletic backgrounds.
Yes.
Whether it be basketball, boxing.
Both our dads played football.
Both of our dads played football and still love
that was
football.
pretty neat.
To watch, love to watch football. Yeah, I actually have members of my family that were pro athletes. John Abraham used to play for the Jets. That's one of my cousins. So, yeah, we're not against sports in any way. It's just that when certain things take the place of the Almighty, that's when you're going to have to.
So we had to put that little disclaimer out there.
That's
because
right.
We're not attacking you sports fans.
Correct. Don't look at it that way.
There's a few things when it comes to being a believer that sports can get in the way of.
Right.
We're talking Sunday games. We're talking weekend takeovers. We're talking arena stands. And we're talking celebrity status.
Talk to the people.
Alright, so let's go.
Alright, so my first issue with sports is the traditional history of it. It comes from what was known as the Colosseum, the gladiator games during the Roman Empire. We all know and can trace back to what time period that was, AD. They pretty much had made a sport out of bloodshed. And of course, that's where the Olympic Games were derived from. And the Olympic Games then created all of these other different factions of sports and athleticism that we now see today in the world. And there's nothing wrong with, what we're seeing now and the fact that it's had such a positive outcome and a result for people. But if you notice, there is definitely a level as a person of faith, a believer and a Christian, you'll notice there is definitely a level of unbelief that this is laced with. And not just the historical tradition of it, the fact that it was based on bloodshed in a pagan system, and that they did not really they devalued the lives of the people who competed. And they put them in there, tossed them in there as slaves. They were basically the trash of their society. So if these people died in the Colosseum, if they died in the arena, the show went on, no one cared. But you'll notice that same principle works today. As soon as your favorite player gets injured, as soon as he drops the ball or loses, he takes one too many L's, he's no longer your favorite. And the world does, at some point, forget about him. It's performance-based, whereas the love of Christ teaches us that living that way and thinking that way is wrong. And you will let yourself down every time, expecting only people who can perform well to be the people who hold you down or that you hold down. So that's one of the biggest things that I take away from it and think that it's an issue. There's definitely more, but I want her to actually join the conversation and tell us. I'm sure that a lot of the things that you may take issue with are family oriented, like we spoke about. Right? Yeah, but definitely, tell us what your take is on that. Good point.
So the first two things that I said, as far as like weekend takeovers and Sunday games, I find that it is so consuming that like a lot of times it interrupts family time. So like if you guys aren't all into sports, then it's kind of like a divide. And then like on Sundays when it's like supposed to be church time or whatever, church family time that you have on Sunday, is some people do Saturdays. It kind of really interferes with that. Like for example, the Super Bowl. Super Bowl comes around and even the pastor is like, all right, I'm not going to hold y'all for too long because I know you want to watch the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, while it's nice to be considerate, and that it does bring everybody together. Don't get me wrong. So it brings everybody together. It's like the common thing where everybody's buzzing about it. But for it to be such a prevalent, consistent thing, it's easy for some people to get lost in it and to replace what is really important and valuable. Something that happened with us personally was when our daughter was in dance. And I had already told them, Sundays are no good. Partly because we go to church, and mainly because I was helping out with the church at the time, and I was on the worship team, and I was also teaching the Sunday school class. So what I didn't want to happen was, how some people try to take advantage. You say yes one time, then they expect it all the time. So it was like, could I have arranged for the Sunday morning off? Yes. But if it was something that was going to be expected consistently, I can't commit to that.
Right.
Absolutely not. So it was a thing where I had previously told them, Sundays aren't any good. So if it falls on a Sunday where there's a competition, then she's not going to be able to make it. It became like this whole big thing.
Not even just that.
Where it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's not coming and it's not. And I'm like, well, God forbid, a child gets hurt. The show has to go on without them, yay or nay.
Right.
So
you would be doing it without her either way.
Right.
But what I was saying, it wasn't even just that. It was the fact that they decided that at some point they were going to have their biggest performances on Sunday.
Right.
So that when she missed it, it was just that much more devastating. And this was after we told them previously she would not be making the Sunday.
Months in advance before she even joined the team.
We told them we won't do Sundays because we go to church on Sunday. And they were all, oh, that's no problem, it's fine. Because, they wanted that sign up. They wanted that registration. But, after the registration fee is said and done, now you have this thing where it's like our agenda still has to be pushed and we still need every child there. So that was what they were doing. And it's not like we're talking down or bad about them. It was just the simple fact of the matter that it wasn't a miscommunication because we let them know specifically what it was. Right. We told them exactly what time it was. And we told them exactly what we wouldn't be doing. So there was this one time where they said, oh, it's the semi-nationals, the final, whatever they wanted to call it. Please let her make it. I think even one of the instructors was crying, or our daughter was crying because she thought she wasn't going to be able to go, and her other dance partners were making her feel guilty about it. So we said, you know what? Since it's affecting you this way, we sat her down and said, we're going to let you go this one time. We're going to take this Sunday off. I think there was something happening at the church we were going to at the time anyway, but we decided we were going to take the Sunday off anyway. It may have either been health reasons, family issues, whatever it was. We just decided we're taking a break this Sunday. But her dance schedule coincided with that Sunday. So she brought it to my attention, hey, her thing is still that day too. And since we're going to have off, I was like, you know what? I'll talk to her about it because I remember she was upset. We told her, we'll let you go this time. All her teachers got wind of that. All of a sudden, their dance events are canceled after that, right? So they go to that one event. They didn't win, but it didn't matter, right? I guess the fact that she was there and that they wanted her to be there was more important than actually doing their best, performing and winning, or whatever the case may be. What they claimed was their objective to begin with. Moving on from that, we come to find out they started canceling Saturday performances. They started canceling other performances on other days, and they started sending emails to all the parents. They can only perform on Sundays. The only events they can have now are primarily on Sundays. So if your child's going to miss all of them, you may have to reconsider your child being on that team, which we did. which we did. We told them she will not be able to stay on the team since you've made this new change. I don't know if that was something that fit everyone's schedule or agenda, but they decided to take it upon themselves to do exactly what we said we would be unavailable to do, and only that. So that's where we took issue and why she was, unfortunately, had to be removed from that equation, But we got her into so many other things like basketball. She was on 2 different basketball teams, and we got her into some great activities. So she was definitely happy. But but yeah, did you have another point you wanted to bring up besides the family time? Because I know we had the family time, and then there was another one related to that. And let me just say, the celebrity side of it, when you have these athletes and entertainers who are such showmen that people are starting to think that the event itself is fixed, that within itself shows you the true nature of the problem. It's not the only problem, but it shows you the nature of it. People think the Super Bowl is fixed because a lot of the athletes are becoming more showmen than athletes, right? They get sucked into that celebrity status and absorbed in that lifestyle. But look at all the things that it's bred, that it's still breeding. People are losing, it's almost like they're losing human decency, they're losing the very thing that makes them human. And the immorality is at an all-time high because the only morale is based on this one focus, this tunnel vision of who's your favorite team and will they win. And the people who are involved in playing or participating in sports now, suddenly they're put on this pedestal where no one ever thinks they make mistakes, and it's like they're supposed to be these perfect superhuman beings. They do it in almost every form of the entertainment industry. We're going to do one on music too, okay? Because the enemy is moving all throughout the music industry and that form of entertainment. We're going to do another episode on that. I definitely think that that's necessary because we're both musicians. We're both music artists and aspiring to get into our own, our own lane in our calling. But we'll do another episode on that as well. This is just one piece of it, one facet and one aspect. So yeah, when that happens, people are let down every time because these are flesh and blood human beings. They're not perfect. They're gonna make mistakes. Things are gonna happen like that.
But then there's all these outside factors that do make it an issue. So
Right.
when you have to compromise your family time and you have to compromise your church time, when you have to compromise your fellowship, when you're, gambling, when you're betting on teams, anything that is going to be a hindrance or an obstacle or a distraction that becomes an idol.
I mean, there's no other way to say it. This is going to be hard for a lot of people to hear. I grew up watching sports, and, my family, a lot of my family, most of them still watch sports. And it's like, at this point, it's something that's definitely taken over our society, and it's everywhere. You're going to see it no matter where you go or what you're doing. In our society, that's something that seems to take the most prestigious priority, and I think that's what's the problem, because this is supposed to be something we're simply entertained by. But it's safe to say that most of the American dollar in this country goes into sports, and if we're 300 trillion in debt, we have a national debt of 300 trillion, right, because of wars and whatever else. How is it we're still able to put so much bread into something like that? So that's just also food for thought. Like I said, I'm not against sports. When you have issues though, like social justice issues, that sports take precedence over, and a perfect example was Kaepernick. Him kneeling, whether people agree or disagree with it, it represented him protesting something that was happening off the field. African American males were 3 times more likely to be killed by a policeman than any other race. And it was happening more and more frequently. It's still happening, and he decided to protest that. It had nothing to do with the nation itself and the patriotism of it. Unless the patriotism of the nation and our militarized power is automatically and directly linked to that racism, and they're going to openly admit that. So if our military power is linked to the racist oppression, then they both need to be addressed as such.
Right. Well, because that's what I was going to say too, in terms of the racial oppression. You know, not only is it about the killings, but then it's also about like the job placement.
Right.
So, you know, just African American males won't make as much as Caucasian males.
Correct. And people saw that, and they contributed it or attributed it to the fact that they thought this one individual, specifically Kaepernick, wanted attention. People were saying things like, oh, he's a subpar player, he's mediocre anyway, NFL doesn't need him. Why does that matter, though? Why does that matter more than police brutality? Why does that matter more than people dying for no reason and losing their lives? These are human lives. So how is it that human compassion, human decency, and the value of human life is now placed in somebody who now we analyze and we look at their stats and automatically assume they want attention because they want to bring our attention to the value of human life and how it's being devalued? This is food for thought. Things to think about. People's perception of sports clouded their judgment of how much more valuable human life really was supposed to be. That should never be the case. If the whole league says you should kill every ethnicity, every member of a certain ethnicity or group, you're going to have some people who automatically agree with that because they watch and follow their favorite team in that league. And they put so much money into it, buying the apparel, going to every game. It's a brainwashing of a sort. Their influence is so effective now that it's clouding judgment and it's clouding the authenticity of reality for some. It has replaced religion. It has replaced spirituality. People have gone on with their lives to think that they don't need God. They don't need a relationship with Him, and that they don't need anything that governs their moral compass because they have this in place of it. And it's really just a distraction from the absence of it. So that's why we're not coming against it. We're coming against the absence of having a God at the center of your life, and ultimately a moral compass, some type of integral decision-making process that allows you to see the value of human life. What do you think? Anything else to say about that?
I don't think so. I think, you know, he really got everything.
And to this very day, we're both still athletic. We're both still active. I still enjoy basketball. I still have a passion for it. To show you, you know, what I mean, I think we won about 6 or 7 trophies playing in the church league. My father was the coach for the basketball team at my mother's church previously when I was younger. And I played on that team for maybe like 6-7 years. We won a trophy. We went undefeated, but we were able to give that ability, give that opportunity, and give that back to Christ. We were able to give that back to God and say, let's serve Him in this and turn it into a ministry. So we played in a church league. But that within itself was a blessing. And even then, it wasn't like something where it was replacing studying. We had to go to Sunday school, we had to go to service, we had to make sure we were in church that Sunday in order to play that following Saturday. So things like that should be how you connect the two and tether them together, you know?
Yeah.
But I pray that there is a day when the body of Christ does take back the entertainment industry that the enemy seems to have under siege. Because that's really the underlying issue. You know, our issue, that's why our issue is not with sports. It's just with sports as an idol.
Yes.
So, I think that's all, right? Mm-hmm. Close out there.
Yeah. So, thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we hope that it would actually be food for thought. And